What's up, Classic Buffalo family? It's your host, the RY, maybe add an AN to the end, Ryan. We're here to talk with Camie. She is an awesome person from originally Chicago, but she's in Boston. Really in the music game, really has a passion for mental health, and I think this episode is going to do some really good things for you guys that are listening. I hope you enjoy, but let's get to our conversation. Hello.
Hi.
What's going on, Camie?
Not much. How about you?
Good. Nothing much. Just another day above ground. Are you in Boston or Chicago right now?
I'm currently in Boston.
Okay. So are you from Boston or are you from Chicago or are you from Alaska? I'm just picking a random state.
I'm from the suburbs of Chicago, and then I moved out to Boston for college 2 years ago.
Okay. So let's start in the beginning.
All right.
Obviously. What part of Chicago did you grow up? Did you grow up like downtown Chicago? Did you grow up in the burbs? Was it like diverse neighborhood? Was it like pretty like affluent? Was it, run down? Stuff like that. Talk about like kind of growing up in Chicago.
So I grew up in the suburbs. I was born in a little town called Long Grove. It's a little historic town. There's only 8,000 people that live there, and we have like a coffee shop and a popcorn shop and like a chocolate store, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, it's pretty much all farms and a bunch of horses, some cows, and then about 30 minutes you're in downtown Chicago.
Oh wow, okay. Did you grow up on a farm?
I didn't, but I actually have horses, and they're only a mile from my house, but we keep them at someone else's farm.
Oh, wow. Is it hard to ride a horse?
Yeah, it is. I started when I was 5, though, so it's kind of like second nature to me, but...
Okay. Did you ever fall off?
Yes, a lot.
Do you have to wear, like, pads, or what do you wear when you, you probably have a helmet, right?
Yeah, you have a helmet, and that's it.
Okay. Did you ever do, like, shows?
I did, yeah. I competed pretty much every weekend from when I was 7 until I was 17.
Whoa.
Yeah, I traveled all around the country competing. A lot of time in Florida in the winters, and that was pretty much my life growing up. I would leave Thursday after school, go down to the horse show, compete all weekend, come back Sunday, and go to school for the rest of the week.
Whoa. So, like, did you ever win anything, or were you like, oh, I got third a bunch of times, or, like, it just did it for fun?
I won a lot. Yeah.
Oh, so you're famous for horse riding. All right.
It was really like my life. Like my plan at the time was graduate college and then just go back to horses and train horses for the rest of my life.
Whoa.
Yeah, that changed, but yeah, that was pretty much my plan for like 10 years of my life.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
What's like your favorite? What was your favorite part of like doing that? Was it just like, man, just a connection? Was it just fun? Was it deep, or was it just like, oh, it's just really fun? Like I get to be with the horses and I love animals.
It was mostly I just loved all my horses. My favorite days would be on Mondays when after they were done competing and you can't really exercise them as much. I would just go and like hop on them with no saddle and just walk around the arena and hang out with friends, play games. We used to play tag on horses, me and my friends.
Whoa.
Yeah, and those were like definitely my favorite days.
Where was one of your favorite places you like went for traveling for horses? Obviously you went to Florida a lot, but anywhere else like cool you went?
We went to Traverse City, Michigan every year, and it's beautiful there. It's right on the lake. There's like a little town. There was a cherry fest every year that we went, so they had like a carnival, they had concerts there, and it was so fun. And the horse show itself was beautiful too because it was kind of like on a mountainside.
Wow. Are there any like funny stories from like horse riding?
Or
cool stories?
I mean, Steve Harvey's daughter beat me at a show once, and then he brought her on his TV show, and I was like, that could have been me.
Oh my God.
But yeah.
Wow. So Steve Harvey does not like you.
No.
Oh wow. That's like something you bring up at parties
Yeah,
right there.
right.
Steve Harvey. Wow. Do you kind of occasionally, like when you go home, ride horses? I don't think you probably do it in Boston, but
I don't. I was so my college actually does have an equestrian team, and I was on it my freshman year, but I got nerve damage in my shoulder, and then I got sick, and so I stopped riding on the team. But when I go home, I still have my horse at home, and I'll ride him. But I don't compete anymore.
So you like got bucked off one time and got nerve damage on your shoulder?
Well, I actually got nerve damage at a concert. But,
whoa.
Yeah.
What happened there?
I was in the pit. It was a neck deep concert, and there was like a metal railing behind us, and it was my friend's first concert, and the circle pit opened up, and I went to kind of like stop her from getting hurt, and I got pushed back into the metal railing, and it like went into my shoulder, and just my shoulder was messed up for like a month.
Oh my gosh. Like, did you know something was like wrong?
Yeah,
like when it happened?
I could feel it. Anytime I would do anything with my right arm, it would send like shooting pains down my arm. So I went to the school's just basically nurse, and they put it in a sling and was like, go to a physical therapist. And I was like, I don't have time to do that. So I just left it in a sling for a while, and then eventually I just dealt with it, I guess.
Yeah. I separated my shoulder twice in football.
Oh, geez.
And then like one I got tackled wrong, and then like I'm just laying like just in a cross position, so I'm just completely flat with my arms wide, and I couldn't get up, and the trainer walks over and he's like, hey, so I can pop your shoulder back in, but if I do it wrong, you can't sue me. I'm like, dear God, just pop it back in. I don't care. So popped that in, went through rehab, and then like the next season I was lifting weights, and then it popped out.
Oh no.
And so I'm like, that's why I quit football.
Yeah.
And then in college, this is my embarrassing one, is I was like doing not a play. We were doing, what's it called? It was like a dance kind of thing. It's like college wide where everybody has like a routine.
Uh-huh.
All the floors come up with a dance, and then like it's all over the theme. Like somebody did Space Jam theme. We did PBS. So we did like choreography to like Bob Ross and like Match School Bus and like, so we did all that stuff. So I'm like doing one of these dances, and it pops out in the middle of the performance in front of the whole of like 2,000 people.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
But it was like right at the time when like there's one time where we all stop, and then like lights dim to something like where like apart. So it's just like right when the music cuts off, and like we're in the middle of our set or whatever, and it just popped, and I popped it back in and then finished the set. So like that was cool. But like, yeah, I can say I popped my shoulder out doing like dancing.
Oh my God. I'm so afraid of dislocating or popping out anything. Like that's my worst fear.
It's an experience. So if I separate it again, I'll probably get surgery, but I don't really do athletics, sports ball that much anymore. So I'm just doing a competitive cornhole at this point. No. So cool. So you grew up, you grew up in Chicago. Did you have like a big family, small family? Did you have like, were you close with your like brothers or sisters if you have them? Like kind of tell me about like family life.
So it was just my parents and my older brother, and my brother and I are actually very close in age. We're only, I think, 22 months apart, but we were only ever one grade apart. So we were always in the same school. And him and I are very, very close. He actually goes to school only an hour from where I go to school, so he'll come and stay at my apartment sometimes. And then my mom's mom, we call her Amma. She lived downtown, and so every Sunday, we would go downtown on Lakeshore Drive and have dinner with her. And I have a lot of cousins on my dad's side, but we don't see them very often. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was mostly just my parents, me and my brother, and we've always been very close. We rarely fight. We don't, like, my brother and I don't have that normal sibling relationship where we're fighting all the time. It's never been like that.
But he's like stuck up for you before kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. My brother and I were 9.5 years apart. So we never were in the same school.
Right.
I would hope not. Right. But, so there was always just kind of, we didn't really become close until after college or during college, where like, I'm kind of an adult now, you know?
Yeah.
So, where we had some kind of commonality in ground. So, but it's still, I'm kind of close with my brother. So,
Is it just you and your brother?
yeah. And he's my half brother.
Oh, okay.
So we have the same mom, but basically since I've been alive, my dad has been his dad. So he hasn't talked to his dad in 25 years.
Gotcha.
So that's nuts. But at the same time, yeah, I just treat him like my brother because he basically is.
Right.
So, what was it like? Did you ever go through anything like, middle school, high school? I mean, you talked about the nerve damage, but sometimes like I talked with a guy who had like, so he had a spinal fusion when he was 15, like that can kind of, that was something he had to go through growing up. But was there anything like that you feel like talking about, like growing up that was kind of hard or?
So my freshman year of high school, both my parents were actually diagnosed with cancer. They have two different kinds.
Oh my God.
And they were diagnosed within, I think it was 2 weeks apart. And they're different kinds, but yeah, so all throughout high school, it would be, oh, my mom's in chemo for X amount of months. And then after that, it would be my dad's in chemo. And then, and they kind of switched off and like, cause they didn't want to both be getting treatments at the same time, because that would kind of just leave me and my brother hanging. But yeah, so that's been going on ever since, I guess I was 14 that they got diagnosed, 14 or 15. But yeah, that was pretty much all of high school was, visiting in the hospital whenever they would be getting stem cell transplants or, dealing with that. And obviously when you're young, it's a lot harder, but that was high school for me.
Wow. So are they still going through that?
They are, yeah. My dad just started chemo again, and my mom, she's basically in remission, but still sick. Like, she still takes medication and everything, but she's not getting treatment actively anymore.
Okay. Well, that's better. It's not the best, obviously, but let me ask you about, because obviously a little bit of the podcast is making other people, the people that do listen, kind of like, oh, okay, they get to learn for experiences they don't, they haven't experienced, but then they also get to kind of, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. So talk about like, what was it? Obviously you probably remember the day or around that time, like, oh, I remember when like my dad was diagnosed or whatever, like, because I remember when my parents were divorced, like exactly like what was going on in the back, like it's so vivid, right? But talk about like things that helped you get through, or because obviously it's an ongoing thing, so it's a little different, but it's, at least initially, how did you process it? There's some sort of grief, I would say, there wasn't a death necessarily, but how did you kind of cope with that?
I listened to a lot of music at the time. I went to a lot of concerts to try to distance myself from it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, music really was my saving grace all throughout middle school, all throughout high school, even still now. I obviously made it into a career. But it was like anytime I would have a bad day or my parents were too sick, I would listen to music and it would make me feel a lot better, and I would have something to look forward to, like, oh, my favorite band has a concert in Chicago in 2 weeks, like, just got to get through these next 2 weeks so I can go to the concert. And yeah, I mean, music and horses, really, that was I just had to find something that I really loved and wanted to, and had something to look forward to.
Yeah. So you would recommend like someone getting a hobby or getting where you're going to, because technically with horses, it was both fun, but then you got to interact with people because you got to travel too.
Yeah.
So, and then I think the future event, I think that's a great idea. Something to look forward to.
Exactly.
Because then you're like, even if I'm having a tough day, in 2 days, I'm going to lunch with one of my best friends.
Exactly.
Or this weekend, I'm going to go to a concert with, I think that was a really good strategy. For music wise, did you just listen, like, what type of music did you listen to?
I listened to a lot of like punk pop. Like I was definitely in that emo phase of high school.
Right. Yeah.
But a lot of like All Time Low, they're my favorite band. A lot of like Pierce the Veil and just that kind of the music that is sad in theory, but is actually very upbeat. Makes you relate to them, makes you feel like you're not alone in whatever it is you're going through.
Yeah, that's great. When did you get your first tattoo?
I was 17.
Okay. And what was your first tattoo?
It was, it says Perfect Porcelain. It's on my left arm. And it's from a band called Mariana's Trench.
Yeah, I heard them.
Yeah, they were my first favorite band. I started listening to them when I was 12, and they were actually my first concert too. So I was like, I'll make it into my first tattoo.
Oh, and then your Instagram things, porcelain Camie. That makes sense. Yeah. Are there any other tattoos that because I know you have a few, but are there any other ones that you're like, oh, that's a really cool? Is there any deep tattoos? What just talk about your tattoos, I guess.
All right.
Like the fun ones you have, because I'm sure you have like, oh, that was just I like how that looks, or that's cool.
Yeah. I have on my ankle, it says Anywhere is Home with a little galaxy. And that's from the Maine. And I got that on my 18th birthday when I moved to school, and it was kind of just a reminder, like anywhere in the world can be home for you. It was leaving home literally and coming and trying to find a home in Boston.
Yeah.
I have I guess not my most recent one anymore, but in May I got on my thigh, it's a lion inside of a broken rib cage, and that's from a band called the Front Bottoms, and they have a lyric this is for the lions living in the wiry broke down frames of my friend's body. So I messaged the tattoo artist and I said, I want a lion and a rib cage and the color blue, figure it out basically. And he designed it, sent me it that morning. I was like, cool, put it on me, went and got it tattooed for 6 hours straight, and
whoa,
it's probably my favorite tattoo. It's definitely the biggest one I have too.
Any significance to the color blue, or that's your favorite color?
That artist, that's like his staple color. It's like a teal color. And I just loved it. I was like, I want that everywhere.
Right. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. I got my first tattoo when I was 23, maybe. When and that was Mine Says Enough, period. And it's like written, and it's upside down. I'm doing quotes because it's, if you were to look at it, it's upside down. It's not facing other people. It's facing me.
Yeah.
And in my really, really tough time, I had just gotten out of the hospital, and I don't know. I think I wanted myself to know that I was enough, period.
Yeah.
That there wasn't any like qualifiers or anything like that. So I put it on my weakest limb, and I put it like facing me. Right. And the guy was like, that's upside down, right? And I was like, well, it's technically not for other people, but right. So that's one of my favorite ones. I obviously I would love to have like a sleeve, but I don't want to go get it done.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm hoping to basically cover up my arms and legs at least, but it takes so much time and it takes so much money. And
yeah, do you already have your next tattoo planned?
I don't know which one I'm gonna get next, but I do have a bunch just written down that I eventually want to get. Yeah. I kind of just go on impulse. Like one day if I'm very stressed, I'm like, I'm just gonna go get a tattoo today. All right. Go to the place and get it done. So it depends how I'm feeling. But I want to cover up my left leg by that artist who did the lion tattoo, and I think I want it all to be based on lyrics, like designs from lyrics. Yeah. But
I think we're really kind of dancing around one of the most important parts of your life, and that's music.
Yep.
So, and you're also into psychology.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the two things I'd love to cover with you. So we're almost towards, let's get to college. So, cause I want to finish the timeline a little bit, and then we'll, kind of get into music and all that stuff. So, you're like, let's say you're senior in high school, junior in high school. Why did you want to go out of state? And then why Boston?
So I had told my parents, and we had college counselors in high school, and I said the closest I want to be is a 3-hour plane ride.
Okay.
And I felt like if I stayed in Illinois, I was never gonna outgrow like taking care of my parents, and I was never gonna leave. And there were, friends, quote unquote, and people I wanted to kind of get away from. And so I looked in Boston, I looked in Texas, I looked in LA, and I go to Boston University now. And the reason I actually chose BU is House of Blues and another concert venue are on the campus. And I wanted somewhere that would be easily able to get to concerts. And here I just walk there. And so that was kind of why I chose Boston. Also, it's in the middle of the city. We don't actually have like a real campus. And I love that. Yeah. It feels like you're not even at school.
Right.
And that's kind of why I ended up here. And like I said earlier, my brother goes to school an hour away from here. And so it kind of worked out that we both chose Massachusetts, and it made it easier for my family as well, because my second choice was UCLA, and that would have made it so hard to move in and everything. But yeah, I loved Boston when I came and visited. And
I think I want like a summer house. Like when I'm way older, I want a summer house in the Northeast. I love, because I went to New Hampshire. I mean, I have family in Boston, and I love it minus the like weather.
Yeah, so, the weather's terrible.
Yeah. Do you want to be in Boston long term, or are you thinking of moving? I mean, so you graduate next year.
I graduate, 2020 May. I'm graduating a year early, so I'm technically a junior, but also a senior since I'm graduating with the senior class. But I actually have no idea what I'm gonna do. I want to be touring full time with bands, and so ideally I would be touring full time, and I wouldn't even have a home base anywhere. But until then, I think I'm thinking of staying in Boston because I do have work here already. I might move out to LA because the artist I work for lives in LA, so if he wants me there, I might move out there. I might just, wing it and apply to jobs in Australia and Toronto, and I was thinking about Indiana too.
All right.
But I'm putting that off until January, when I really need to start thinking about it and figuring it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping that music's gonna work out and I'll be touring full time and I won't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So let's see. When did you start blogging? So tell me more about, like, let's just dive in into music. So talk about professionally what made you want to get into music, talk about your blog, that kind of, and then professionally where you're at, like, because you said you work for an artist.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
So throughout high school, I was going to concerts a couple times a month. I would be at a concert, and I became friends with some local artists, and I would travel for tours, and it just kind of made sense that I would make it into a career. And then the music industry is also very messed up, and there's a lot of people that are going to take advantage of you, and when you're underage in high school, that happens a lot. And so I got mad at an artist and decided I was never going to work in music again, and was never going to go to any concerts. And then I came to college, and this rapper named Kid Quill, he put out an album, and it was the first new music I had listened to since I decided that I was never going to work in music again. And I listened to it top to bottom, and I was like, oh, I really should work in music. Like, this is why I should do it. And so after that, I applied to some jobs at concert venues, started working at 2 concert venues here in Boston. I still work there now. And then last year, 2017, I started Concerts with Camie, which is that blog. And I just started writing reviews about concerts. It eventually got more personal and more about my experiences than about the concerts themselves, which was fine because I then started working for a music publication and writing reviews for them. And then I reached out to the artist I work for now. His name is Kai. I DM'd him because he had toured with a friend of mine, and I saw him and I loved him. And I messaged him and I said, "Hi, I want to work for you." And he was like, "Okay, email my manager." And so I did, and I ended up actually being in LA a couple weeks later for a concert. So I went over to his rehearsal studio, helped him hang up Christmas lights for 3 hours, missed my flight home because I was helping him hang up Christmas lights. And then a couple weeks later, the manager messaged me and was like, "Do you know anything about social media?" I was like, "Kind of, like I can wing it, you know?" And he was like, "Perfect, I want you to run his social media." And I still do that now. And my main priority is selling merch. So I want to tour selling merch, and that's what I do for Kai whenever he is touring, whenever he does shows. I'm there selling merch. And ever since then, I freelance doing merch gigs whenever I can. I still work at the venues. I try to write for the blog as much as I can, but I'm very busy. And yeah, I mean, I'm hoping I'm going to start reaching out to more artists probably in January, fill up my 2020 with tours and go from there. And once I get tired of being on the road, I want to open up a venue and then probably go to grad school and get my master's in psychology, depending how old I am. But I mean, touring, that's not something you can do for your entire life. It gets tiring.
Yeah.
So gonna do it until I get tired of it, and then
especially if you want to settle down.
Exactly.
Yeah. So talk about DM strategies. If anyone's looking for a job, talk about DM strategies, because obviously that's very underrated, right?
Right.
So you literally just got a job doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's hit or miss. I would say it's more miss than it is hit, but in music especially, it's not something that you can just send your resume in and get a job. Like it's just all networking. And so I just DM the artist and I'm like, "Hi, I would love to work for you." It has to be professional, but also relatable, I guess, to the artist, because most of them are young, and it has to be professional but also relatable to the artist. So you have to be able to connect with them while still showing that you're gonna be able to do a good job. And you know, if they have a manager, I would say emailing the manager is the best way to go. But yeah, I try to keep at least my Instagram very music and somewhat modeling oriented, so that when people go and look at my social media, they know that I actually know something about what I'm doing. And that's how I get jobs, mainly is through social media.
So do you do paid modeling, or just you like do it for fun? You know,
I mostly do it for fun. I would love to do paid modeling. I would love to model like band merch. That would be
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah. But I have a friend in Chicago. She's a fashion photographer, so she's the one that does all the photos for me. And I use them mostly, like I said, as marketing, basically marketing myself for bands.
Yeah. So Kid Quill, he's from Indy, right?
He is.
Yeah. So, and you kind of look buddy with him. So did you, because I know you, like, you liked his music. Did you contact him and work with, if I missed it, I'm sorry, but did you like work with him, or like, did you just stay friends with, like, how did you meet him, all that jazz?
So early 2017, he toured with a different friend of mine, and I loved his music, but we didn't talk. And then his album came out 2 days before my birthday, and I made a tweet about it. And he actually DM'd me and was like, "Are you coming to my Chicago show?" And I was like, "No, I live in Boston now." And then from then on, we started talking a lot more, Snapchatting, DMing, and just became good friends. I went and spent some time with him in Indiana. I see him whenever he's on tour. I'm actually flying out to LA to see him on his first headlining tour this year. But yeah, from there, we just became pretty close friends, and he definitely has influenced my career a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's mostly just seeing him at shows now, but yeah, I love him. He's such a good guy. He deserves everything, all the success he's getting from this new album. And obviously I would love to work for him, but we have a weird friendship where I think we might kill each other if we worked for each other.
Yeah.
You know.
It's kind of hard sometimes going in business with friends or family unless you really you're like, okay, we can actually make this work.
Exactly. Yeah. So the Kai is actually a good friend of Mitch's, so that worked out.
Yeah. That was nice. That was a good job there. Not marketing, networking. That's the right word. Okay. Psychology. Why psychology?
I love being able to help people, and I also wanted to understand what was going on with me, with anxiety, all of that, and psychology just has always interested me, and I like being able to figure out why people are acting certain ways and their behaviors, things like that. I find it so interesting, and my backup plan is going into music therapy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's dope.
So I've seen, in music and in horses, both those worlds have a lot of people that definitely could benefit from therapy. And so I just wanted to be able to help people, I guess.
Yeah. What's your overall thoughts on where mental health is today?
I think the conversation around mental health has definitely gotten better, and people have gotten more accepting of it, but it's still not where it needs to be. But I also think there's so much pressure on students and everyone. College is so expensive now. Finding a job is so hard now, and things have gotten so much harder in general. And so anxiety and depression rates, have skyrocketed, and it's terrible, but at least we have more people being accepting of it, and hopefully it'll get better.
What are your thoughts on counseling and medication?
I think counseling is great. I think medication is tricky because a lot of it is just guessing on what's going to work for you, and if it doesn't work for you, it can be kind of detrimental. But if you find something that works, I have no problem with medication. I think as long as, like I said, it's just working and it's not making things worse, then why not?
Yeah. I think counseling's way underrated, just as far as even what some guy said, you don't go work out in the gym when you're fat. You do it because to maintain or whatever. And so it's more people go to group counseling, or not group, but marriage counseling, couple counseling, whatever you're counseling. And then next thing you know, you've just been doing it. You're like, oh yeah, I go to counseling. It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
I don't know. Once you start doing it, but there's such a stigma over, getting counseling. And then, meds is such a whatever your cocktail ends up being. But for some people it really works. And some people it's you do natural stuff, or more counseling is actually more beneficial. So it's person by person basis. I totally agree.
Yeah. I'm definitely big on, if exercising is going to help, or if writing or something natural is going to help, definitely do that. But if it's medication and natural, then do that,
Yeah.
I know there's people who are very against medication and only want to do natural remedies, but sometimes that just doesn't work for people, and that's okay.
Yeah. So you obviously journaled a little bit, whether you published it through your music and blog. Would you see that as a form of journaling?
Yeah, I would say so. I write a lot. I finished a book I wrote. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I might publish it. I was talking to some publishers, but publishing is really expensive, and I do not have the money to pay for a publisher right now. But we'll see. It's just a collection of, it's actually more like poetry, but yeah, I love writing. My grandpa's an author. He's also an English professor in Iowa. I just come from a big writing family, and it's just always interests me. I wanted to be an English major for a while, but I don't like being told how to write. So.
Oh, I'm the same way. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you'll publish the book at some point if you really want to. You'll be able to do it.
Yeah,
Or just
we'll see.
self-publishing or something. Yeah, you'll do it. It'll work out. Talk about like either, and you don't have to be specific with this, but kind of like when you were having a tough time, what was something that someone else did for you that you're like, oh, that was actually really helpful that they did that? And then in the opposite, what is something that someone else was having a tough time? How did you kind of in both scenarios? And they can kind of be combined into the same answer, but like, what is something that really helps someone when they just had a really bad breakup, they're really having job troubles? Like, how did you reach out, and how have other people kind of reached out to you and you're like, oh, that's actually a really good strategy?
Yeah. So for me, I would say whenever I would have a tough time at home, my friend would be like, just come over, and I would go over, but we wouldn't really talk about it. I would do homework or watch TV, and she would do homework or something else. And it was just being in the presence of other people where I wasn't just alone in my own thoughts. And I know when people come to me too, if they can't just come over to my place or I can't go to them, I'll ask them, do you want to talk about it? Do you want advice, or do you want to be distracted from it? And so I think leaving it up to them what they need is the best way, because if you don't want advice and someone's giving you unsolicited advice, it just makes you more upset.
Yep.
And so I think always asking them what they need at the time is so beneficial, because I know some days I want someone to tell me like exactly what they think, the advice they give me. You know, sometimes I need that like tough love, and then other times I just want them to listen, and other times I want them to tell me a funny story that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, you know?
Yeah, right. Talk about a motto or good piece of advice that you heard recently over the last couple of years that has really helped you.
Ooh. Well, one of my favorites is always be kinder than you feel. And I think I love that just because I'm a big believer, even if you're angry, even if you've had a bad day, you shouldn't take it out on other people. You should always be kind to everyone. And I think if other people took that advice and they were kind too, it would make the world just a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think that also goes for when you are sad or depressed or anxious, you get into a weird mental state, and sometimes you take it out on other people, and then it just makes you feel worse because you feel guilty. But if you're just trying your best to be kind, I feel like that actually helps, because you're making other people feel better too. And sometimes that's just what you need, is to know that you can make someone else feel better.
Yeah, that's really good. So we're going to do like a quick hit, 5 questions, fun questions to get to know you better. So if you can travel back in time and go to any event in history, what would you go back to?
I would probably go to a Nirvana concert.
Early on, late, it didn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Album. As long as Kurt Cobain is there and David Grohl, I would be happy. Okay,
that's a good answer. Let's see. Superpower. One that can't be either, what's it called? Invisibility. So it can't be invisibility.
Okay.
And it can't be flying.
Okay, I would want to read minds.
Yep. That's a good one. What is your perfect like homemade meal? If you get like you're going home and your mom or your dad's like, I'm making whatever you want.
Oh my God. My mom makes lasagna. We have it every year for Christmas, and it's so good. It's a family recipe, and it's so good.
Okay. And then if you can replace anything with your non-dominant arm, like hand arm, we'll do hand. So it's like your non-dominant. So if you're right-handed, it's your left hand. You have to replace it with anything other than a hand. What do you replace it with? You know, laser, claw, a machine that prints money, you know, whatever you want.
I would say a laser, probably. I like that answer.
Are you talking about like kind of a laser pointer, or are you talking about like a legit like laser?
Like if I could like cut through a wall with it, you know?
Whoa. Yeah, I mean, it's like whatever you pick, people are going to want to hang out with you based on whatever your answer is. You're like, oh, that's the chick with the laser.
Yeah,
laser
exactly.
Girl. Yeah. Or you could do like a laser show, I guess. But that could be really dangerous. Like It'd be kind of hard. Like, how do you trigger it? Because, like, what if you sneeze and just shoot like a hole in the wall?
True. That's very true.
A book that one of your like best books that you've ever read.
Oh gosh. Every Day, I believe it's called, by David Levithan.
Okay. What's it about?
This, I guess you would call it a soul. It has to go into different bodies every day. So every day it wakes up in a different body. And then the soul falls in love with someone. And so every time it wakes up in a different body, it goes and tries to find that person. And it's very interesting. I don't want to give away the ending. But...
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for the spoiler warning. Who is, let's see. What was the other one I had? Oh, what's the key to happiness?
Oh my gosh. I wish I knew. I would say kindness, being kind to others.
That's good. All right. This is the last thing. I just started doing this in the last episode. I think it's going to be really good. You're going to pick one person. It doesn't matter who, mom, dad, best friend, kid, quill. It doesn't matter. Okay. You're going to say something to them, and as long as you want, and then you're going to share it with them. And so you don't have to tag them necessarily on social media. Just tell them to listen to it, and they have to listen to it.
Okay. But
it's going to be like a positive or encouraging, like let them know how much they mean to you, or like something you're really grateful for, something like that.
Okay. I'm actually, I'm going to go with Kid Quill on this one because I'm excited to see him. And I want to say that I'm super, super proud of him and everything he's accomplished in the last couple of years and how much he has grown as an artist and as a person, and that everything's going to work out. And I know he's super busy with tours and albums, but that I hope that he can take a second and just stand back and watch that all his dreams are coming true right in front of him. And I hope he can appreciate it and be grateful for it, just as grateful as I am to have had him in my life.
Yay. Good job. You are awesome. I'm super grateful to have kind of been talking with you a little bit and just to get you on the pod. It really means a lot for you to be supporting what I'm trying to do and just raise awareness for people's stories and just empower you. And if we can even impact one person and make them feel less alone, that's a win for me. So
right, yeah. Thank you so much for having me on and asking me to do this. I'm super excited to see how this grows and everything.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much. We'll be in touch, and then, hey, you're gonna dominate in the music game. You're gonna get it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later. Okay.
Yep. Have a good one.
Bye. Hey everybody, this is Ryan from the Classic Buffalo Podcast. Wanted to take a second to talk about Anchor, how I'm actually making this podcast happen. Super happy that I'm partnering with them. So, Anchor is actually the easiest way to make a podcast. I've done my research. This is basically the best way. I promise. It's going to give you everything you need in one place for free, which is the best part. It's going to have tools, so you don't really need a fancy schmancy recording guy. Anchor's going to be helping you out there, and then they're going to distribute the podcast everywhere to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, everything. And then you can also make money with basically no minimum listenership, which is kind of rare. So hop on Anchor as soon as you can. Thanks. Just finished talking with Camie. Man, what a passionate soul for music. I thought it was so cool that all of her tattoos had like something to do basically with music lyrics. Music is so underrated for like just relating to things. Obviously, so many people are known for listening to, music or sad music or relatable, especially Adele, right? Like she got famous over that, but just music relating to things that you're going through with the lyrics, like it's so thought out and stuff. And man, and just the amount of composition you can go into, like what a song or what an album can be like made of, and what the album means, or like, oh man, artistry and music. I've always had a passion for it. It's just so cool. So that was awesome to see and like talk with another person who has such a passion for music, and you can just tell that she really wants to change the world through music, and it's really cool to see her have such a deep relationship with like a guy named Kid Quill, who's like famous and stuff, and I'm sure it's a mutual relationship as far as like both of them supporting each other. And man, I think I might be getting a little sick. No, but really cool to see her push through also, like both of her parents getting cancer. Like that's nuts. And this is just another person I'm going in blind. Like I don't have any of this planned, and then just people opening up and being vulnerable. It's just so nice to have people feel comfortable around me and then want to share stuff so other people don't feel alone. That's one of my favorite parts. Every time, I may have mentioned this in the last episode, but like every time I do one of these, I feel empowered, or I feel good. I feel filled up, man. It's nice because it's pouring into my passion of wanting to share other people's stories. And if I can make a person who comes on the podcast feel like liberated because they shared their story, knowing that they also, including me, like both of us, want to help another person feel not alone, like that's really cool. We're doing that through this podcast. I can't wait to see how she does in the music world, and she'll still be successful even if she's not in the music world. But it's the second time we're trying to see if we can get people to the positive affirmation thing at the end for other people, and then sharing it. I just, the whole roses thing that I mentioned in the last episode or so, I think about we need to give appreciation while people are still here, you know? I don't know. I think that's going to be a really good segment to keep and do like every single time. So I'm actually about to go record another episode, which I'm excited. Making episode 7 at this point. After this one, obviously, 5, 6, 7. That's how you count. Just another day, step closer to the dream, and hopefully another person impacted. And I'm so blessed if you get this far in this podcast. If you've made it to this episode, keep going. If you know other people that want to share their story, please reach out to me. DM me on Instagram, or get a hold of me if you know me personally. Yeah, let's just share your stories. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. If you want to talk about it, I want to listen. So until next time, it's been your favorite neighborhood Spider-Man, me, Ryan. Bye.